all in from a hole. You're not coming from a position of strength. You have to kind of dig yourself out before you can get going.
Yeah, that's going to be tough. Before anything happens, putting yourself into a bit of a deficit. Starting us off, Frank Esports actually going for a bit of a cheeky move down bot. Although with the full line of scrimmage start here on J Team, they're not going to find anybody unless they really commit to this, but I don't think they will.
I think Frank Esports are trying to torment J-Team. Remember the first game that J-Team played this split was against the Deep Cross Gaming crew that ran the same strategy. It's another smite top galore. So this is going to be very interesting because I don't think the Frank setup with the spike top is very different from Deep Cross Gaming. What Deep Cross Gaming had was they had 100% pushing bot lane, and they could execute tower dives, and they could leave lane very easily with the bruiser. But Frank Esports don't really have that. Instead, I feel like we're going to have a much more static type of top smite strategy where, yes, Kurt will roam, but not to the degree that we've seen from Nesty.
Yeah, and that might give an opening here for Driver to, take advantage early of some absence. We're going to have to see how it shakes out as we get onto the Rift. I mean, this is always an interesting start. Going to go ahead and leash up his top lane, or his jungler as well, as Holo is also going to match Konye on the top half of the map to kick us off. Honestly, if there's going to be explosive potential, I always feel like it could come from the bottom. K2 on this Braum, kind of matching the heavy engage with like the big shield that Braum can bring to try and stop the Jinx from dying. I definitely have some trust in Eminem, but also Lilvi has shown himself to be very confident. And I wouldn't be too surprised if Holo makes a trip down there to try and odd those evens, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, for sure. I think we're going to see a very different setup from Nesty. Generally, what I expect is for this Karma to be going around with Holo a lot more, rather than trying to roam all the way to bot side. In the bottom lane, they don't really have that much shove potential. It's kind of hard to control the wave if you are playing with this Braum. So it's going to be about top lane domination and trying to limit Kongi to only one quadrant of the map. So he has a very slow Moonfall to come in. That middle game Drake fight or Herald fight for J-Team is not necessarily going to be there for them.
Yeah, and of course they're tracking him too. You could see that he was spotted as he was clearing out his chickens. They got the ward down on top of him. So definitely priority Frank Esports. Frank Esports is keeping Konye in their sights, making sure they keep track of his jungle pathing. And I feel like that's just kind of like the smart thing to do for any team that's playing against this guy. Don't give him an opportunity to blindside you, and then he can't do anything.
Absolutely. We have seen earlier Gemini just go for level 4 ganks on the Diana, and that does catch people off guard sometimes. We'll see. This
Konge
is a
would do
very
it too.
Interesting time to back here. Kurt doesn't have the TP, so he will just start losing CS on this wave. It's kind of normal
He's not even
to
going
see.
to tower.
Yeah, I felt like he was gonna play a bit more standard, but apparently he's actually just gonna go all into the smite top route. The standard play with the smite top is you get your first cannon, and then you just start roaming across the map, leaving top side completely. But I feel like it's a bit harder for this Karma to actually get a gank through compared to someone like the Bard.
Yeah, I mean, you can get some soft CC down and, maybe try to set up for your carry, but look at this long route. It's actually just like a full-on, warding spree, and I think eventually they're going to try and make this play down on the bottom. Question is, will Lilvi and Enzo take the bait on this? They have to know that there's no top laner. They have to know that this is a priority, and they're playing back. This is just a lot of time that Kurt is not able to get much done.
Yeah, this looked very ineffective. I felt like they read Diana's pathing incorrectly. Uniboy should have no problem with this. He's even trying to hold the wave in the presence of Karma. So he's feeling completely comfortable. And yeah, so far Kurt has done nothing. Huh.
He's getting some cardio in. Got his steps, That's about it so far, though. I mean, I guess you come back for round 2, but look at how safe Lilvi and Enzo are playing. They've read this well.
Yeah, I just don't think this Karma has that much pressure. If you're talking about a Janna, usually they run around the map with Glacial Augment, so that's an additional slow. But as a Karma, you have to wait till the tether ends before you have hard crowd control. So compared to someone like the Bard or the Janna, I feel like this setup is very suboptimal, and they're just never going to get their investment back.
Yeah, it's a little rough. Let's see if Kirk can make something happen. He will catch sight of Kongye and actually does get the empowered Q off. Tether's on as well. But, like, okay, there's no follow-up damage because you're 2 levels behind in your Karma.
And they lost both sums on K2 in the meantime, too, so...
Oh, wow.
This,
and the cleanse on M&M.
This is the problem I was talking about. Like, if you want to roam this strategy, you want to do what Deep Cross Gaming does, and you actually want that tower to be pushed all the way in, but they can't really control the wave that well in this matchup, so it's super baffling. In the meantime, while Kurt has roamed around and probably gotten 2 procs out of his support item, look at the top side. Driver has gotten 3 tower platings.
Literally playing PvE top. So the Renekton is going to come out of laning phase really happy, as he has level 6 very quickly for a top laner because he just has the solo EXP without worrying about trying to contest on anything, already getting so many tower plates down. Might be able to take another one out here. I feel like Kurt might. I mean, I don't think if he really can contest now. He's just so far behind half the levels that his opposite number has.
If you look at what happened, like,
Oh dear. And that's first blood, too.
Kurt roamed bottom, but his mid lane is losing, his bot lane is losing, and his jungler only has 1 extra camp.
Yeah, not worth.
Yeah, I don't feel like Frank Esports is that comfortable with the strategy overall. I just feel like the Airy Karma is probably not the support you want to do this with.
Yeah, I agree. I think they maybe got a little dazzled by the idea that they could put a little bit of fear back into J-Team using a strategy that was used to beat them, but just, I don't know, this is the bargain, this is the discount brand version of the Enchanter top, and it's just not doing the same thing. There's a bit of an aftertaste.
Yeah, we do have the Orphan Axe coming out again, Hull Breaker.
Oh boy. That's a completed item for a Renekton at 7 minutes. He's level 7. You know how Renekton does that thing where he falls off in the late game? It's going to be a rough early mid.
I'm going to be so sad if Renekton takes the first tower and starts roaming before Kurt even gets an assist. Like, that would just be...
That might happen.
At this point, I don't think there's anything stopping him. Like, yeah, Kurt doesn't have the damage to dissuade him, so... We'll see, maybe the bounties can take them back into this one, but so far, I just don't think so. This looks so bad.
Yeah. Kurt has committed to it. I will give him that credit. He has not stopped. But unfortunately, yeah, this tower is going to be gone. No plates, no problems. Driver's just going to let the minions do the job, and maybe he'll finish the job himself with just 1 or 2 axe hits, and there we go. And they've got everything warded up, too. They can go ahead and rotate down to take that Rift Herald and start working on the mid tower. There really are no winning lanes here for Frank.
I like how Kurt is just begging for Kongrid and Bane. He's just waiting in a brush. And it's just please, Diana, can you show yourself? And then they see them on Herald. There's nothing they can do. So they're just okay, well, I guess we'll take the red. But honestly, they could have taken this red without even Kurt being here. What is this Karma accomplishing? I think Smite Top is definitely still a very valid strategy, but you need to have the correct setup for it. And so far,
they're going to try to dive this.
There is a teleport from Driver,
this might be the real opportunity. Driver is very big, and he could get in here and see this. Although it's very early on that teleport onto his own base. Of course, he still can, even without the empowerment. But look at this, the damage being dealt. Kurt just doesn't really live long enough to keep this going. And with Driver's TP and the Dominus on, not only can they retreat from this, they're actually trying to keep it going, but the collapse just not going to do a darn thing. Even Uniboy was in there to finish the job.
Meanwhile, in the top lane, Kongya just gets a free tower, and he's going to get another charge on the inhibitor tower as well. So, this is a really good example of the dangers of playing Smite top, I have to say.
I know we talked about this in the research for the split, talking pre-games. It kind of feels like if you run the Enchanter top and go for the Smite play, you can still mess it up and still win games. You can't mess it up this bad.
Yeah, I'm really baffled. I felt like they were just going to, at the start of the game, I said, I think the strategy is not roaming bot. Because roaming bot, you don't have any chance of actually getting a tower dive going on early. So I expected them to just have a clamp down on the top side of the map with the double smite. You just control your camps, take everything away from Kongyue. But they didn't do that. They roamed Kurt all the way bot lane, got absolutely nothing for it. And now their top lane inhibitor tower is sitting at half HP. So
At 10 minutes.
yeah, I guess sometimes you want some good showcases, you can watch Deep Cross Gaming. If you want some bad showcases, this is probably it.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, right? We're here in the PCS. We have everything. We've got good Smite top. We've got bad Smite top. We've got stomps. We've got unexpectedly close games. I mean, it's just a lot to like. But this particular game, unfortunately, it feels like Frank tried to get a little too fancy. I want to see him go back to a little bit more basics before they do all of that. Kurt does take a crucial blast cone to escape, but that frees up the Dragon take here. J-Team, as the map is just so opened up early in the game, and Renekton is in this massive power spike, they can just threaten everything like this.
And if I'm J-Team at this point, I just want to take things a little bit slower. I don't want to give Frank any opportunity to actually come back into this fight, so I'm actually looking towards engaging if they come down the ramp. Like, it's not worth it for J-Team if they lose multiple members for this Drake. So they played this really well, good setup on the ramp, making sure that it's difficult for Frank to actually engage onto them. They still take the Drake correctly. That's a really slow and measured play, and honestly, they were looking at an Infernal Dragon pretty early on in the game, 26 minutes, and I don't see like the 10-minute mark being enough time for Frank Esports to actually be relevant at this gold deficit.
Yeah, and critically, like, because of how things have gone so swimmingly early on, right? Like, you're looking at multiple members of Frank far behind or far enough behind to where they have a hard time contesting. Kolnge does have his rocket belt, and even though he hasn't really been able to open up with any kills, it's only been a 2-kill game, he's still going to be that deep threat. And if your name is Eminem or Pretender, you're going to have to watch your 6. Kurt also could be in some trouble, but I don't think he's going to be a priority target, to be honest. Moonlight Vigil comes through. Stun down onto K2. Doesn't matter.
Now, just a reset here. We have Konger in the wings, just waiting in case Karma does decide to show herself. And unfortunately for Frank, they don't find any good opportunities for this Karma to have any impact on the map. So I feel like the game state has really shifted, where I felt like Frank had an upper hand here in terms of their composition. Now, because of the deficit being so large, I guess they still have that advantage, but it's just very, very much delayed. It's like,
I mean, the fact that they're still like Kurt's on level 5, I feel like they just need to let him go into a lane and soak some XP and some gold, because this is not working.
I think at this point, like, I doubt it's even worth it to have him leech from carries. Like, I think it's just a lost cause at this point for Kurt. So they just want to farm up as much gold as possible on Victor and Jinx. I think that's probably their strategy.
I mean, eventually Kurt will hit 6. You'll have an ultimate. But, yeah, it's a little bit rough right now.
Yeah, I think the only way they have a playable mid-game is if they do kind of what RNG does, and they just completely scuff one lane and just force-feed M&M, which is frankly what they've been doing this entire split. I've never seen someone take 31% of the team's gold. Like, those are insane stats. Like, not even Uzi gets that much gold.
To do it on. Yeah, you know what? You might as well at this point. And stranger things have happened. We've seen teams come back from crazy deficits. Of course, if there is a champion that you do want to be able to, funnel gold into, really, the hyper carry, Jinx is not a bad candidate. But you need to stop the bleeding, right? Because at this point, yeah, they've only lost the towers up top, but so much of the map is opened up. They are down just about 5,000 gold exactly, and the Drake stack starts to get a little bit threatening. Not just yet, but once the first and second Infernal get cleared, then you got to be careful.
Yeah, because for Frank, this is they're not coming back into this game until like post 35. So a 26-minute Drake Soul is very difficult to get away from for Frank Esports. So they do need to think about potentially getting steals or just opting for a trade somewhere to find that Drake. Another thing we can keep attention to is when Frank Esports take back that bounty. A huge part of this strategy is, Kurt might be on the menu.
Oh, yeah, I think he absolutely is. Does flash behind the rest of his carries. A nice triple root there, but it does pretty much just end up expending a fair number of ultimates, teleports, flashes, and that is it. So Frank do dodge out of danger, but J-Team clearly happy to start fighting.
Pretty fair fight, I would say, from both sides. You do get an extra summoner on the end of J Team, so probably a small win over there. And this is where in Season 12 mechanics come into consideration. You can get as much as 800 gold onto every member with an objective bounty.
That's true.
I'm not sure they're far enough behind to get the full amount, but you know, that would be a sizable comeback if they do find the tower. So it incentivizes J Team to go into engages, which are inherently risky when Frank Esports do set up that siege.
Ooh, look at this, a death brush. Oh, that is such a crucial Scryer's Bloom. I don't know if J Team were going to check into that anyways, but at the same time, really forcing the hand of Frank, trying for the desperation. Not only that, zoning them away from the Dragon Pit just about the time that the Infernal is spawning. Big Shelly charge that should be enough to take down the tower. Not a lot you can do about that, Frank.
And this is exactly how you want to play against a team that is searching for bounties. You do not want to trade. You want to make everything net positives. So, as you can see here, J-Team are putting themselves out of position here, but they do want to guard this Infernal Dragon, as it will give bounty as well.
Trying to keep it going with Kongye and Lil V. You can see around the side, Driver threatening. Dominus on the Croc is big, and Frank just give it up. They don't feel safe enough to try and fight this, so down it goes.
Yeah, and also J-Team don't over-chase on this situation. They let them push the wave in. Nobody tries to use their gap closers, so across the board, J-Team just playing this really well. You know, they're juggling their lane allocations great, making sure that, hey, Frank Esports just can't sneak anything. And if you think about the objective trades, J-Team has just taken the Herald, the Drake, and the mid lane tower without Frank Esports having a response at all.
So, Clement, I got a question for you. Does a Flame Horizon count if your opponent isn't in lane?
I will allow it.
I was going to say, I feel like it's a default win, but it should still count as a win. So,
Can we call this the
at about
Kurt
17
Horizon?
minutes, yeah. If you had told me coming into
sully
today,
the name of like a Flame Horizon where it's like one top laner smashing the other on Jax or Shyvana or something.
Like,
and this
nah,
one's
this
just
is
like
double
the other top
enchanter.
laner was AFK. So let's just call it the Kurt Horizon, okay?
oh no. Oh dear. Yeah, it's always an interesting thing to think about when something like that happens. And you're like, well, the numbers say this is true. However, my eyes say something different. Either way, Driver very, very far ahead of Kurt because he has been actually laning this entire time. And he's opened up a good number of towers. You know, the one on the top, he got one down bottom. It looked like finally got cracked open. And there's still a lot of use out of this Renekton right now. So I did like the swap up, giving Driver this Rise instead, even though we were very much expecting it to be a Uniboy special.
Yeah, and you know, he's going to get that Gore Drinker pretty soon as well. Definitely before the second Drake. That means he's going to be incredibly tanky, and at this point, I still don't think Jinx has enough damage. If you're playing this Jinx against the enemy composition, you really have to be thinking about Lord Dominic's regard to be able to cut through this front line, which J-Team has a lot of front line. You know, this you're going to have a Fimbulwinter coming in from the Rise. You're going to have Gore Drinker on Renekton, and Kongre is going to be standing there with armor. Zanya is already completed. So, honestly, this Eminem's still 2 items off.
Well, and Pretender, he's going to flash away, just barely, does get a little extra shielding. Now they try to turn this, and there's some damage, but just not enough to try to go for the fight. They run out of steam fast. Meanwhile, Uniboy, free hit top.
Yep. Nothing stopping him right here. He's completely content in this one.
The pace of this game is so weird.
It is. Frank Esports only have 2 points of damage right now. They only have Victor and Jinx, so they can't cover 3 lanes. I really like what J-Team is doing. They're just spreading across the map and taking the jungle. And, you know, wherever they go, Frank Esports is always going to be losing on one side, at the very least.
Yeah. It's unfortunate to see, and, you know, it really all just stems from the bizarre decision to try and go for this discount double enchanter and just not get anything done. Like, you know, you blame Kurt, but it's also a big team decision to try and make it happen. Big risk, big gamble. Just did not pay off, and they have been paying the debts ever since.
I feel like they would have been completely fine just running a normal Karma top. Like, they had the area.
Yeah, they could have zoned Driver off.
Yeah, I just feel like that was a fine play, and late game I feel like their composition does outscale to some degree, but they opted for a much riskier strategy.
Yeah. Well, the hope now is to force feed Eminem, but they've really got to stop the bleeding. I mean, it's so hard with the way they're getting dragged around, and J-Team are not the team that are going to give you that opening 50-50, even if it's like a 60-40 or a 70-30, right? They're the more cautious squad.
The J-Team at this point, they're just trying to play deny bounty and go for Baron and finish. So the less turbulence there is, the better it is for J-Team overall, and I don't think you will see them even attempt to like over-aggress as I say that.
Enzo walks into it, but I feel like he might have just been checking. Here you go. They can't even delete him, though. And look at that. Preemptive flashes immediately. Kongye sees the opening and takes it. Lil V even flashes forward aggressively as Eminem really wants a kill, and he just can't find it. Rocket already expended. They just don't have the damage, Clement.
Yeah, that was really close, but no cigar right there. Eminem trying so hard to get his first kill. We're going to watch that again, and honestly, this was a little bit risky from J-Team. I don't think Enzo really needed the chance this one, trying to drop the ward down, and you could see the pings coming down as well. I don't think their teammates were especially happy with this play, but, they did have Renekton and Victor completely out of the play, so in the end, it didn't end up biting them too hard.
Yeah, so very low kill score for everything that's happened in this game, and all of them on J-Team's side. Now that we're past the 20-minute mark, obviously Baron starts to become an issue, but as you mentioned, they don't really need to go super aggressive. They also can just freely take things like the Dragon. Kongye picks up another Infernal here, and there's the chase from Frank Esports, but they only really clip a bit of Driver's health bar. As you mentioned, they just don't have the damage to really do much, and the damage they do have doesn't really have the same level of mobility to catch up.
Yeah, and Driver, he was forced to use his flash right there, so that's something that we have to look forward to. But he will still have his dominance even in the next catch here, and I think we are going to get to the point where Uniboy is outsplit pushing Victor. Pretender's top, not much he can do right there, and this is going to open up the chance for just to start Baron timings.
Yeah, they're going to go for it. Driver and Kongye double duty on this one. Enzo actually intercepts the Jinx rocket, so now that gets a lot safer. Holo, he would have to flash the pit if he wanted to do something like this. However, J-Team decided they're not going to full commit to it. It was obviously a bit of a slow start here. Driver still tanking on the Baron.
They do need a Felios for this. I think their strategy here is a little bit risky so far. They're basically just banking that Enzo can continue to block, but that might not be the case.
Now this time they've got him caught. Will they be able to finally find a kill? Oh no! He goes into stasis and the rest of the team comes in. Kongye once more wants to find the kill. And nobody dies in that one.
Oh, that was so risky for Enzo. I can't believe he got away with that one. Now a Kongye comes in.
Oh my word! Kongye just opens up an absolute can of decimation. 2 kills for him. Lil V cleans up the others. And that was what he's been waiting for all game long. And that might be the end.
Yeah, that definitely should be it. Only 2 members, only 1 member alive from Frank Esports side, and Lil V is still extremely healthy. They will have a total of 4 members guarding the Nexus, but this will be 2 inhibitors down for them.
At the very least, I mean, it just seems like there's not a whole lot left. They could pretty safely take the Baron off that, and man, you just give this guy an inch, and he will take an absolute mile to dash in and Moonfall on top of everyone. Oh boy, that's the Kongye we were expecting to see from Hong Kong Attitude.
Yeah, I want to see that again. That was just absolutely beautiful. Really playing on the psychology of Frank Esports. They know they have to come forward and check, so they're all grouped up underneath their second tier 2 tower. J-Team sees that opening. Kongye goes in, and the follow-up is really sweet with the Moonlight Vision as well. So, see again, goes instantly right as he pops out of vision, gets a solo kill onto Eminem. No help required right there. And then you also have literally putting the finishing touches up onto that play. So it's just absolutely beautiful, and I like the way that Kongye knows that he can do that from that distance and that angle.
I like how we got to see the replay in Kongye vision. That was even better. as he just
Zero
goes, and it's
jump.
also we had like the terrifying sound effects coming in too. It was really like watching like the Predator hunt or something. It was crazy. 25 minutes in, 8 kills to none, another death brush. But here's the thing, Frank, every time they've done this, it's been their own deaths in the brush. Holo kind of isolated from his team, does throw down the Ragnarok not to get CC, but ends up having to flash away. Meanwhile, the Realm Warp comes in, and things are getting a little bit crazy here. Kongye isolated, but they still just don't have any damage to deal with them on the Frank Esports side. Oh dear, this is a little bit crazy.
No, not even
Nobody
that kill.
dies.
Is it going to be a perfect game?
I think it will. No towers, no kills. I mean, does the dragon count? I don't think so.
The dragon does count. I'm sorry, the dragon does count.
That's okay. That was early in the game. That was before things went upside down.
Yeah, come on. If you roam Kurt down, if you trade a Drake for a Kurt Horizon, it still counts as a game.
It's almost a double Kurt Horizon at this point.
Oh, jeez. Oh, jeez.
Yeah, I want to see what happens. Now, J-Team should be able to finish this. They hadn't brought Lil V, but they're just so far ahead at this point that it's fine. They have the 2 inhibitors. Down it goes. Keep denying the bounty. Oh, man. It's just like a horror film if you're Frank Esports. Like, it's all these moments of just, like, wondering where you can go safely, and then Kongi just jumps out and bites your face off.
Yeah, this has been such a foregone conclusion for such a long time. I just can't believe that, Frank Esports decided to pull this one off. A real stinker from them. Hopefully, if they try this strategy again, they will copy from Deep Cross Gaming and learn a lot more about the nuances, but it looks like J-Team will just be picking up this prize. Frank Esports not even around this area to contest. They have to go back and deal with the double minion waves that are pushing in with super minions. So it will just be Infernal Drake right here. And honestly, if I'm Frank Esports, this is a game where I try to preserve mentality. I'm just trying to have fun, and I want to kill someone, like most likely Lil V. You have to show him who's boss. If they get the kill on Lil V, I think Frank Esports can call it even.
There you go. Yeah, that's you take what you can get at this point. But what they can get is going to be a little difficult with all the Baron empowered minions marching through here. Driver still just kind of working his way around the side, and those towers are getting cut through like paper as the rest of J-Team look to end this one here. For Frank Esports, a miracle of a fight seems like the glimmer of a dream that died a long time ago. We'll see if they can make some magic happen at the last second, the actual last second here. Holo getting tagged. In goes Kongye looking for more. Not quite the same level, but it doesn't matter at all because they still had so much damage to just delete everyone off the rift. And even though K2 and Eminem are still alive for how long, it kind of remains to be seen. They realm warp back onto the fountain just for the manor, and they still get the kill to end the game. J-Team